So glad we got out of school before the school shooting, like all that stuff the got crazy and I don't know, all the other stuff that's going on in schools now. I'm glad that we just missed all of that. Like we didn't have to have
up. Like, is it, they said it was.
I don't necessarily mean that. I just mean like living in the age where I see schools with all sorts of protocol and procedure and safe rooms,
clear
and
backpacks,
and all that shit. Like we didn't have any of that shit. We like the worst thing that happened in the bathroom was when that girl went and cut herself that time. Oh, I think a mongoloid the girl one time, but you know, shit happens.
That's a pretty horrible thing in the bathroom.
I mean, you know,
it depends on which one you were.
That's a terrible. That's a terrible thing.
I bet if you asked JoJo, he'd tell you it was a real formative, fun day.
Yeah, someone fucked up letting JoJo out of his cage that
day. So my school didn't have those things, Kyle, but the school down the road, Atlantic City, had metal detectors, clear backpacks, like all those safety protocols.
That's for gang activity, though, right?
Yeah.
Like you weren't worried about a white kid.
Town.
You weren't worried about a white kid doing the shooting. So when a white kid comes, he shoots everybody. When a black kid shoots up a school, he just gets the guys he's after, more or less. He's not going to hunt room to room like the Terminator.
It sounds right.
A white kid will do you like that. There's one, I don't even like bringing it up because it's like, don't even want to put it into the ethos, but I remember it was the one after Columbine. It was like the second shooting I'd ever heard of it was either one or two boys, I think in Alabama. And what they did was they either called in a threat or pulled a fire alarm. And then they got on a hill overlooking where everybody would line up outside and started shooting people.
Fuck.
And I remember thinking, shit, we do line up outside in a fucking row on command anytime anybody pulls that motherfucker. And it was scary. You know, it was like, I was just about to graduate, I think then, or maybe I had, but it was still in my head today. It's like, that's scary.
There were a couple that got me that are more recent. The Vegas shooter, by the way, still don't know his motivation. And what happened there. Yeah. But he just used like basically full auto. I know there were some bump stocks involved and stuff like that, and shot into a crowd at a concert. And that had always been like the worst case scenario. Not only do you get all those bullets and you can just hit anything shooting into a crowd, but
elevated
there's the stampede. It's that was a really bad one. And then I'm trying to remember the other one was in my mind. Oh, the New Zealand church thing where they went into that.
Oh, Christchurch.
It wasn't a church.
Yeah.
Was it a Christchurch? I thought it was Muslim.
It was a mosque. The area was called Christchurch.
Yeah, the city's
but the mosque
Roger that. So that guy was just I hate to say anything complimentary, but he was really effective at not letting people escape, really catching them lined up, pinned them in the back room. Like he was brutal and 73 kills or something.
I don't remember. He was brutal and efficient though. I saw like him just blow the tops off people's heads in the street, like without flinching. When he leaves, he runs over that lady's body. Boom, 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 boom. And it's the wild part. If you watch after he's killed everyone, I've seen the whole thing. And then like after it, he's driving away and he comes to an intersection with a crosswalk and some people sort of give him some shit like, hey, watch, we're walking here. And he's like polite with them. And it's so weird because he just killed all of it. He's like, sorry. He's like letting the people go past.
Because they weren't Muslims or they were still Muslims.
Exactly. He was, I'm pretty sure he was driving around later and there's not video of this, but I think I read that the deal was he continued driving around and was only shooting at, I guess, brown people. I don't, they're in New Zealand and they're in that part of the town near the mosque, but he killed so many people.
51. I just Googled it.
Jesus Christ.
He had containers of gasoline that he was he sort of like had this moment. He's wearing a body cam and he has this moment where he's like, should I take the gas in? Nah, let me get this other gun though. I think he retrieves like a second gun and goes back and shoots more people.
Dude, the version of it that I watched while he was grabbing his guns and stuff from the trunk and like setting everything up was set to music. It was like
it's his music.
Wait, what?
It's like I don't know shit about 4chan culture, but they called it meme music. But he's like listening to it the whole way there. He's cracking jokes about the Austin Powers.
I might be misremembering it, but to me it was like I know it wasn't exactly this, but like the Doom music, like just rocking sort of hype music. I might be wrong, whatever. It was a while ago.
Yeah, it's been a while ago. Yeah, that was a real rough one. This recent one, where those little children were killed, those, that shit's awful. I mean, you don't want to see anybody get shot, but when it's those little bitty kids, it's so horrific.
What's this
I don't
one?
understand. Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's been a couple of them recently where kindergartners died. The one where we were really happy about the way the guy charged in and got the person.
Oh yeah.
I'm pretty sure they stepped over a 5-year-old or something on the way, like after they got to the second floor, before they got into that sort of open atrium area where the shooter was and they killed him. I think they step over like a little 5-year-old in pink or some shit. They blur it, but you could tell what it is.
Wasn't one of them was that the girl shooter? There was like a female
trans person. Yeah, it was a trans person.
Like I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how they defied. But
the shooter was trans. I
feel like the Sandy Hook one was like the first one in a while. Like that was like the one because I think that was like right after I got out of high school. So like that's why we didn't have any like protocols or like training or anything like that at my school. And then like Sandy Hook happened, and then more and more school ones happened after that. But I don't remember much happening like in the late or the early 2010s before that.
I kind of feel like you're right. Like there was a gap there. I want to say the Boston bombing was around that time too.
As far as schools, I don't remember much happening up until Sandy Hook.
Yeah, you might
Boston
be right.
Bombing was. We talked about it earlier, but I wanted them to get those guys. It was bullshit. They did.
They got themselves. Or
no,
they got one of them.
And those other guys that didn't do it.
They got everybody.
They got to be safe and
no one got out free.
I remember we were in this bar restaurant thing. It was like noon, and we were watching that. It just had happened, because I think they start the race. It's an early morning thing, right? And it was noon or 2 p.m. We were watching it on TV, and it was like, God, they gotta get these people. They gotta get them, or they're just gonna do it again. An attack like that, like. Clearly, they're just going to do something like that again. And the way they had done it with those pressure cooker bombs and the ball bearings or whatever, I was glued to everything about that. I was so into capturing the Tsarnaev brothers. That was wild.
I didn't follow it after it happened.
I'm surprised there's never been like a documentary. Of course there has. Marky Mark made a fucking movie about that shit.
Who
remember
else?
That? Fucking Boston Strong.
Yeah.
You don't remember?
Else?
Remember when they took everybody's like fucking rights away throughout the whole Constitution and the Bill of Rights and said, get back in your fucking houses, with the army and the APC strolling through the streets? Remember that?
Yeah.
America, Boston Strong. Yeah. That's what they did. Like basically declared martial law and get in your fucking house, civilian, rolling down the streets in tanks and shit and APCs. Yeah.
Shit.
They brought, and it, it's good they got those guys by any means necessary. If you tell me that, hey, the best way to, just like with the virus, like I said, if we all go inside for a week, we'll have no more virus. We all go inside for a week. It'll be easier to find the people who have nowhere to run or hide. You know what I mean?
Totally.
It kind of made sense. Look, I don't want to live in Boston. Look, imagine you're a Bostonian, as they like to be called, and there's people getting blown up. You don't want to go to work the next day, and maybe the Tsarnaevs come for you. Maybe they're down there at Vandelay Industries because they don't want any more latex coming into the city.
Maybe they're taking out all the exporters that day. That's not good for those of us with
the importers.
And the could be the importers too.
Nope. No holds barred when it comes to the Tsarnaev brothers.
Is that another one of your go-to Seinfelds with George pretending to be successful?
Oh yeah. Anything with George. George is like, anything with George, I'll watch that episode.
I like when he lies about selling computers for his dad's already fake computer sale business.
Yeah.
Or anything with George's dad too. Like anything with him, like my favorite thing is the blooper reel from the
Lloyd Braun
from the Bad Boy episode when they go to when he's I think he got arrested for littering. It was the Bad Boy George episode, and then he comes and he's like, this is like him and Elaine back and forth, and they just like can't get the scene done with. That's one of the best.
Just so absurd.
Yeah,
that's one of the funnier moments.
Tarp, remember?
Now that is the Tsarnaev brother from the Boston bombing, which is my favorite news event from my life. I was listening to like 3 different police scanner websites simultaneously while they hunted that guy down. That whole night was crazy.
I didn't follow it that close, but I do remember a lot of people online were like, "We got him! We found the bomber!" And it was like just some other long-haired guy who lived in the area.
Oh,
yeah, they got it wrong big time off the start.
I remember. I'm pretty sure I watched, or maybe it's just in my mind's eye from the story, but I've got the visual of him running his brother over because he was in the street. And the one like tried to get away and crushed his brother. I think he'd already been shot once, but killed him. And then
remember that video.
He got away in the car, and then he was hiding under that boat tarp in somebody's bass boat. And they've got him surrounded with tanks and thermal imaging. And I still think they shot first.
Speaking of stupid ways to die, I'm scrolling through trying to remember all these ridiculous reality shows you've reviewed.